My name is Jenny, and I am a 27-year-old office worker. I just got married 6 months ago. I met my husband, Victor, at a barbecue party thrown by a couple of colleagues from work. It seems that the event was set up as a place to meet, now that I think about it. A colleague invited some female friends from the office, and her boyfriend gathered friends from his student days. My father is the president of a company, and I was raised strictly since I was a child, with a curfew even through high school. I had never been to a mixer, and places with many people or many men made me nervous. That day, I was mostly talking to female friends from work when Victor first spoke to me. "Jenny, the meat is ready over here. You haven't eaten much, have you? Don't hold back, here you go." With a smile, he created a very easygoing atmosphere, and we quickly hit it off, and our conversation flowed smoothly. Thanks to him being good at livening things up, I naturally joined everyone's circle, and the day passed quickly because I had so much fun. On the way home that day, he asked for my contact details, and the next day, I received a message saying, "Yesterday was fun. I want to meet just the two of us next time." I mustered up the courage to reply, "Me too." And soon my phone rang, and he said, "Really? I'm so happy. When shall we meet? Where do you want to go?" My heart raced during such exchanges. Even when he asked me out at the end of our first date, I was so happy I immediately said yes. After several dates, he was driving me home one day, and when we arrived at the gate of my house, he seemed a bit surprised. I heard at the barbecue that Jenny was a young lady, but, wow, such a mansion. "Is your father the president or something?" "Yes, kind of." "Do you know the Hansen Group?" "Hansen. Who doesn't know it?" Wow, so Jenny is the daughter of a big corporate president. I'm not really a lady. Really, should someone like me even be dating you? If you have a fiancé or something, please tell me sooner. He said this seriously. What are you talking about? There's no such person, and I want to marry someone I love. I have 2 brothers, so I won't be taking over anything. Really? Really? Such conversations were only for that moment, and even after knowing about my family background, our relationship continued smoothly. And about a year later, he proposed, and I introduced him to my parents, and we got married. Even after we got married, he was kind. About a month ago, when my mother called to say that my father was not feeling well and was going into the hospital for tests, Victor stayed close to me, who was surprised and upset, and drove me there because he was worried. At that time, the test results had not yet come out, and my father said with a smile, "Sorry to worry you, I've just been busy and tired recently." However, that weekend, we were asked to gather at my parents' house. My brother's family, Victor and me, and my still single younger brother. This was the first time we had all been together since our wedding. A bad premonition crossed my mind, and sadly, it was correct. My father had cancer metastasis, and it was already at a stage where surgery was not possible. Really, I was surprised. They told me the test results would come in a week, but actually, they called me the next day. I received a life expectancy announcement. He spoke bravely, and my mother stood beside him, holding back tears. No way. I couldn't stop my tears, and Victor gently put his hand on my shoulder. My brothers also had faces of disbelief and could not immediately find words to speak. Even so, I'm not dying tomorrow. There's a lot I still need to do, not just for the house, but as the head of the company. I'll need a lot of help from you guys. It seemed he was mainly speaking to my elder brother. And Victor. My father then addressed my husband, who was comforting me. I'm sorry that this has happened when you're newlyweds. Please take good care of Jenny for me. Of course, Father. If there's anything I can do, just tell me. Moved by their words, I shed tears again. Due to my father's strong wishes, he decided to receive palliative care at home instead of being hospitalized. Fortunately, the medication worked well, and his willpower was strong. At first, he spent little time in bed, and my mother would say, "It's hard to believe he's seriously ill, he's moving around so much." He discussed the situation with secretaries, executives, and lawyers and continued to handle what needed to be done. My mother was of course devoted, and my brothers supported my father both personally and professionally. The heir, my elder brother, had built a house near our parents' home after getting married, and my still single younger brother was already living at home. I would visit my parents' house as much as possible after work, always rushing there on weekends. Victor joined me on the weekends, and on weekdays when I stopped by, he would tell me not to worry about cooking dinner. I was grateful for his support. One day, when I returned home after visiting my parents, he had already come back, and I could hear voices from the living room. Was it a phone call? I quietly entered the living room. I'm saying, probably soon. He won't last much longer. I thought I heard that and my heart pounded. What was that? What did it mean? Wow. Startled by my entrance, Victor exclaimed loudly and hastily ended the call. Oh, you're back? Yeah. Hey, who were you talking to just now? What were you talking about? It wasn't about my father, huh? What are you talking about? Of course not. I was talking about a game with a friend. Remember him, the gamer? But I heard something about not lasting long. He's in a gaming tournament. Apparently, he's struggling, and he was saying his opponent is about to run out of items and is in trouble. I see, sorry, I thought you were talking about my father and really got scared. Jenny. He gently grabbed my shoulder. It saddens me to be misunderstood like that. I'm worried about your father too and still wonder if there's a way to cure him. He said earnestly. Right, sorry, you are always so kind. I just came from seeing my dad, and I guess I was feeling down. I haven't been eating much lately. I see. I'm sorry you're going through this, and there's nothing I can do. But it's not good to always look so gloomy. Maybe you should go out for coffee with friends sometimes. You're right. Relieved by his behavior, I felt guilty for doubting such a kind person. And a month later, despite our family's hopes, my father passed away. My mother, brothers, and I made it in time for the last goodbye, which was a consolation. With so much to do one after another, there was little time to mourn. From the wake to the funeral, and at the company, my brother's appointment as president and the new structure that came with it, there was a lot to do. There was also talk with trusted senior executives, and no one opposed my still young brother's appointment as president. There are many people who will support us. My mother also felt relieved. My brother's character, and originally my father's serious care for the company and its employees, had its rewards. The next weekend, settled for the moment, the family gathered under the guidance of our consulting lawyer. The main topic was inheritance. It was announced that the 3 children would share the inheritance equally. The amount was approximately $3 million. I noticed Victor gasp next to me. I was surprised by the staggering amount, grateful, but I wished more than anything that my father could have lived longer. There was also talk about the company's rights and land, and it was decided to continue this discussion next time. Exhausted by the difficult conversations, when I got home, I told my husband, I'm going to rest a bit, and headed to the bedroom. Yes, rest well. About the inheritance discussion earlier, since no one opposed, does that mean it's decided? I think so, but why do you ask? Well, I was just surprised because the amount was larger than expected. It feels overwhelming. Yes, I was surprised too. Saying that, I entered the bedroom and lay down, feeling uneasy about his words. Larger than expected? I was vaguely thinking about it when I seemed to have dozed off a bit. I woke up and quietly headed to the living room. It's true, seriously. It's $3 million. No mistake. Wow, that's amazing. Well, it's fine. How much I've struggled and... Oh. Well, she's waking up, so I'll hang up now. Bye. Who? I asked him, trying to contain my turmoil, as he had been on the phone. It was my mother. She was worried about how you are, asking if you've started to feel a bit better. I see. Well, and, she wants to come over this weekend. Apparently, there's a new cake shop that opened, and she wants you to try their cakes. Sure, that's fine. Maybe I'll buy some nice coffee then. I smiled as I spoke, and he nodded happily. A definite suspicion had formed in my mind. The day before my mother-in-law was to visit, I stopped by my parents' house. Mom, how are you? Have you calmed down a bit? Yes, you don't have to visit so much. Amy also always comes by to check on me. Are you eating properly? Amy is my brother's wife, who is reserved but firm and caring. She was devoted to nursing my father and supported my mother during the funeral. I think my brother really married a wonderful person. Yes, don't worry about me, but actually, I have something I'd like to discuss. What's the matter? There's something that's been bothering me. As I drank the coffee my mother had made, I began to share my suspicions about Victor. The next Saturday, my mother-in-law arrived. She had attended my father's wake and funeral, and this was the first time we'd seen each other since then. Jenny, it's really unfortunate about your father. I brought some delicious cake to cheer you up even a bit. Thank you for your kindness during that time. Please come in. Let me make you some coffee. Oh, thank you. As the three of us were eating cake, Victor broached the subject. So, about the inheritance. Yes? Could you transfer the $3 million to my mother's account? What? It was a conversation that went far beyond what I could have anticipated. I was momentarily stunned. I don't understand what you mean. $3 million is a lot of money, isn't it? It's unsettling to have it, right? You're part of our family now, so I think it's best to transfer it to my parents' account. What? I couldn't understand at all. Are you asking to borrow some money? Like for a car or something expensive that's needed? Borrow? What are you talking about? It's our money now, my family's. Victor suddenly burst into laughter. My family's? Of course, the family Victor was born into and grew up in. Jenny, you've married into our family, so your money is our money, isn't it? The mother-in-law continued with a smile. I'll manage it properly for you. You can ask if you need something, but you have your salary, so you'll be fine, right? Wait a minute, I don't understand what you mean. Even if you say it's our money as a couple, why does it become your money? Because that's just how it is, it's our money now. Naturally, that includes my mother too. What? What are you talking about? Oh, don't worry, your family too, of course. First, we can build a big duplex house and buy a car, huh? We've got $3 million, so it's easy. Oh, Victor, you're getting ahead of yourself. But yes, I do want to get started on the duplex soon. Well, that's the situation, so transfer it to my mother's account now, will you? Please, Jenny. A daughter-in-law's money is our money. I was stunned by the true nature of these two. Far from a sliver of hope, it was worse than I could have imagined. Victor, did you marry me for my family's wealth? Huh? I really do love you. But it's Jenny with the wealth. When I heard you were a lady and started dating, it turned out to be a much bigger company than I thought, so I decided right away to marry you. That's right. I welcomed it too, and Victor has always cherished you, hasn't he? Was it all just to get my family's wealth? Oh, don't make such a scary face. When you marry, you become part of the husband's family, so it's natural to transfer the wealth, right? Well, it was lucky he got sick right after you got married. I was really surprised. I planned to cash in big time in the future, but I never expected him to go to heaven so soon. How terrible. Are you saying you were hoping my father would die? My body wouldn't stop trembling. He got cancer on his own, didn't he? If there's no saving him, it can't be helped. I just prayed he'd find peace soon. Yes, it's better for him to pass away quickly and leave the inheritance to his children than to suffer for a long time. Victor certainly had always treated me well. That's why I could believe it was a misunderstanding when I heard unbelievable words over the phone. I was deceived by a brilliant performance. Thinking back, a seed of doubt had sprouted in me at that time. But I thought it was natural for someone to get a bit carried away or expect some luxury when marrying into a wealthy family. However, this was not just any talk. Unforgivable, these scoundrels. Holding back my rising anger, I said. First of all, the money hasn't even entered my account yet. I can't transfer it. I've been told the procedure will take about another week. What? I thought it had already been deposited. Hurry it up. Well, but it seems you understand, Jenny. You're smart. Once the money is in, hand it over to me and leave the rest to me. Right, I'll give you my mother's account later. Transfer it as soon as you can. Saying this, my husband tried to hug my shoulder. I didn't even want to call him my husband anymore. I slipped out of his grasp and somehow kept my composure. Please come back next week. When I said that, my mother-in-law replied with a smile. All right. And left. And then the day came. I was going to make these vile people, who rejoiced at my father's death and aimed to seize his inheritance, realize their mistake. As soon as they barged into the house and took their seats, my mother-in-law spoke up. Jenny, has the $3 million been deposited? Have you transferred it to my account yet? Let's celebrate with steaks or barbecue tonight. Oh, that sounds wonderful. With $3 million coming in, I'll treat you tonight, Victor. Both were in high spirits. Of course, they thought they were about to get $3 million. Little did they know everything was about to turn upside down. Now, I have something to tell you. I smiled calmly. The process for renouncing the inheritance has been completed. What? True to form, the parent and child chimed in perfectly together. Their eyes widened in shock, were identical. What did you say just now? You said you renounced the inheritance. Yes, I renounced the inheritance. Stop joking. You wouldn't do such a foolish thing. Exactly. Who in the world would willingly give up $3 million? Well, normally, no. People often renounce inheritances when the debts outweigh the assets. Right, it's unthinkable not to accept an inheritance when there are no debts. The mother-in-law shrieked, her face twisted like a demon's. How scary. Oh, didn't you know? It's not so rare for heirs of family businesses to renounce inheritances to pass specific rights to a particular heir, to ensure stable long-term management. What? What did you do? She seemed at a loss for words. Well, of course, these greedy two wouldn't imagine passing money to someone else. In our case, my brother has taken over my father's position so suddenly. I plan to support him as his sister. But that doesn't mean you should give away the inheritance. You're being fooled, Jenny, used by your brother and his wife. Yes, exactly. Even the sister-in-law, she's after the wealth too. In their fluster, I snapped back coldly. Don't lump her together with you too. This was my decision. Both my brother and his wife said, "You don't need to renounce the inheritance, and she's a wonderful woman." If they told you that you don't need to renounce it, see, reconsider. I already told you, the procedure is completed. I will not receive the $3 million. No. No way. I have no intention of giving a single penny to a husband who rejoices in his own father-in-law's misfortune. Next to my pale-faced husband, the mother-in-law, also turning blue, suddenly looked up. Unbelievable. If the inheritance isn't coming, Victor, we need a divorce. We'll demand property division. What? I couldn't help but blurt out in astonishment. Of course, Victor did nothing wrong, and you renounced the inheritance on your own. Anyway, where's the proof that we rejoiced in your father's misfortune or that we were after the inheritance? We performed well at both the wake and the funeral. Such a quick talker. She even admitted to acting. If you need proof, didn't you just provide it in your words? Because no one else knows but you. Stop this foolish renunciation and apologize. Then I won't have you divorce. At that moment, a loud voice echoed in the living room. The one who should apologize is you. The calm male voice sounded, and the mother-in-law froze as she turned around. You. Why are you here? Dad. Victor was also stunned. There stood my father-in-law. I caught my mother's eye behind my father-in-law, and we nodded at each other. You've always been one to put on airs. You were so happy when Victor was going to marry Jenny, but I never imagined you were this kind of person. I couldn't believe that until I heard it with my own ears. Victor, you too. The father-in-law looked genuinely distressed. What? The mother-in-law and husband's eyes flicked back and forth in shock. It was last week that you came to Jenny with that foolish talk about handing over the inheritance. I heard everything you said at that time. What? You did? Everything has been recorded. Today too, of course. What? What do you mean? Victor shouted at me. You panicked a few times when I overheard your phone calls. You thought you'd managed to fool me, but I won't be deceived that easily. So, I set my smartphone to record when I heard your mother was coming. Indeed, the day before my mother-in-law was to arrive, I stopped by my parents' house and consulted with my mother and the lawyer. My mother was shocked, saying, "That can't be possible." But the reality turned out to be much worse, and I decided to renounce the inheritance immediately starting Monday. I also reached out to my father-in-law, who had not been around that day. My father-in-law, who used to enjoy playing chess and golf with my father, was shocked by his wife and son's outrageous behavior and kept apologizing profusely. I can no longer be with someone like you. You? No, this isn't what it looks like. Mr. Hansen was humble and had a wonderful human character despite being the president of a large company. I was happy to be his family and friend, but this is just. There's no excuse for their behavior. I'm deeply ashamed. He repeatedly apologized to me. Jenny, I am truly sorry. You can divorce immediately if you wish. Of course, I won't let anyone talk about property division or anything foolish like that. Hey, Dad. Quiet. Don't open your mouth anymore, you shameless person. If you have complaints, let's show today's and the other day's recordings to your colleagues and all our relatives. No way. My father-in-law took the last cool moment. But that's okay. When I spoke with my mother, my father-in-law apologized and cried, truly thinking of my father. With Victor and the mother-in-law speechless, their mouths agape, I said, "That's the situation. Please leave." 1 month later, Victor and I divorced. The rumors spread among the couple who had introduced us, and it seems Victor lost all his friends. He was reportedly reassigned to a small sales office far away. Victor's parents also divorced. The mother-in-law, who had freely spent the father-in-law's money on luxury goods and dining out, was told to agree to a divorce if she couldn't pay back the money she had used. As a housewife and a spendthrift, she had no other options. I thought, can't she say I'll get a part-time job and pay it back, so please don't divorce me? Her inability to reconsider and try again with the father-in-law shows her true character. Well, it's none of my concern anymore. The inheritance I relinquished is being used as capital for the company. My mother, brother, and even my younger brother laughed when they said they would pass on part of their inheritance to me or suggested redistributing it again. Having such a family is more than enough for me. Dad, I wasn't wrong, was I? Having moved out of the apartment I shared with Victor and returned to my parents' home, I spoke to my father's portrait. It seemed like my father in the portrait smiled, and tears rolled down my cheeks.